Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today, I have an upload that is very thought provoking, one that may leave you with more questions than answers. Before we get into this upload, though, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below, my merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. Last but not least, if you'd like to help the channel to continue to grow and go, just simply subscribe and hit the like button. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's upload. Shall we? Alright guys, I actually had this upload already recorded and I was not happy with how it turned out. Plus I wanted to add some stuff to it afterward. So I said, you know what, let's just redo it and do it this way and see how it turns out. So first and foremost, I'd like to comment on the video I made yesterday in regards to a video that had claimed there were military units deployed to Colorado. Now, a lot of people had reached out to me and asked me what I thought. So I watched the video. I had never heard of the channel. I don't watch channels. If I watch YouTube, I don't watch cryptid shows. I do my research myself. I don't frog off of other people's research. So I just checked it out and he seems like a decent guy. I didn't insult him. That's a couple people were just real rude and mean about the video that I made, and I wasn't insulting him. That's the thing. People reached out and said, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And all I simply said was, "I don't know this guy." I think I said it 4 or 5 times. I said that it's a large claim to make, to have you're talking about a national park with no evidence. There's no kind of anything. And it's different than when someone shares an encounter, because this is national news. The Army is deployed to a park, a national park. So pretty much what I said was, large claim, no backing. I didn't insult the guy. I ended up watching a couple of his videos. He seems like a really decent guy. I'd love to get to know him, sit down and chat and talk to him. He seems like he's very knowledgeable. But I just found a couple things weird. Like, Mike Baker is ex-CIA. Mike Baker does not, and he's admitted not having any clearance to Pentagon or any military intelligence after he was out of the CIA. It might be different for this guy. I don't know. All I know is I was going off of what Mike Baker said about his career in the CIA. If you don't know who Mike Baker is, look him up. He is a real CIA agent. This guy, I don't know who he is. He just, like I said, he seems like a nice guy, and just a very large claim. There's no insult. So now that that's kind of wrapped up, and yeah, I really would like to speak to him. I'm going to reach out to him and, just let him know, hey, made this video. This is what I think. I don't have anything bad to say about you. I'd like to talk to you. So, but seems like a pretty cool guy. The next thing I wanted to get in, and this is where the video that I had already recorded falls in. I wanted to talk about these bear attacks and how the media and the federal, state, and local government all had to kind of work together and kind of shut things down and cover things up. And it all started kind of back in 1967 at a park in Montana. A lot of strange circumstances, and it was one of the extreme cases where there had to be some really large changes made in how things were done. The case itself is wacky, and I would be an idiot to think that all attacks, whether it be bear or some sort of canine, were all cryptid related. I don't believe that. I believe that maybe 40% of these attacks are cryptid related and covered up. Just going off of how things are presented to us. You can tell when something is kind of fishy. This case back in 67 kind of paved the way for all that. And I'm going to share that with you, and I want to get into a couple other things that I stumbled across that are just as wacky, you know. And unfortunately, being wacky, I'm not saying that term as being funny, because there are deaths involved in these cases, and that's sad for the family members that have to deal with the after effects. So let's get into it, and let's have a good time. Now, this is the case from 67, and I want you to kind of really think about what is said in this article, because it really, well, you'll see when I start sharing it with you. I probably will stop at certain places. So, the true story of 2 fatal grizzly bear attacks that changed our relationship with wildlife. Patrol Ranger Bert Gildart was driving down the highest pass in Glacier National Park just after midnight on August 13th, 1967, when a woman's voice suddenly crackled over his two-way radio. It was another ranger, and she had a horrifying message. A grizzly bear had mauled someone at the popular Granite Park guest chalet. Gildart called for help, setting in motion an urgent medical mission. Hours later, as he slept in his apartment at park headquarters, a colleague knocked on his door. He states, "Bert, you've got to get up. There's been a grizzly bear mauling," recalled Gildart, now 77. I said, "I know." And he said, "No, there's been another one." The information Gildart says today was mind-boggling, and for a good reason. The park, nearly 1,600 square miles of stunning peaks and valleys in northwest Montana, had recorded no grizzly-caused human fatalities since it was established in 1910. Then, on one night, 2 bears, in spots several miles apart, killed 2 campers. Both victims were 19-year-old women. Those attacks, which took place 55 years ago this summer, set off an immediate quest at Glacier to understand how a tragedy of such odds could have happened. But they also marked a turning point in relations between North Americans and the continent's largest predators, revolutionizing how public agencies deal with bears and inspiring new paths of research on grizzly behavior. The impact of the death still echoed in federal officials' recent decisions to remove Yellowstone area grizzlies from the endangered species list. We've certainly had our share of other types of fatalities, but none of them seem to live like that particular event does, said John Waller, Glacier's bear biologist. It was a watershed moment for bear management, not just in Glacier, but the whole nation's Park Service. It fundamentally changed how we view our relationship with bears. Theories about the attacks caused swirled in the aftermath, perhaps lightning and dry conditions, which sparked wildfires that week, had possessed one bear to drag Julie Hegelson from the Granite Park campground where she slept, and a second to mangle Michelle Coons at Trout Lake site where she had camped with 4 of her friends. The woman's menstrual cycle and the possibility that someone had given the bears LSD were also suggested. I'm going to stop right there. We know, and I did research this, we know that Sasquatch and Dogman are drawn to women's menstrual cycle. I looked it up. I looked up grizzly bear, and they are not. There has been no information leading to that claim. Also, there was no forest fires that week at the park. So you're painting a strange picture already. The news did back then. And there's, just the strangeness of both girls being 19, which is coincidental, strange but coincidental. But the kind of speculation without fact checking with the menstrual cycle. I have proof from a subscriber who had an encounter with a Sasquatch. Well, it was her time of the month. And it was drawn into her campsite while she was camping in a camper with her husband and 2 Doberman pinschers. So we know that Bigfoot and Dogman are. But when I Googled it and then I kind of went deep into it, there was no fact to that claim. Excuse me. But soon it became clear that the problem was far more mundane: human food and garbage. Now, then it gets into Glacier Park had recorded just 100,000 visitors between 1910 and 20. Was in the late 60s welcoming 1 million people. So obviously it's, 50-something years, 57 years of its creation to this attack. And there hadn't been one attack of a grizzly on a human. Now, pretty much there had been a lot of garbage. They're claiming garbage had been strewn around. I don't buy that. We're talking a national park. This is strange here. Granite Park Chalet, a mountaintop site reachable by trail, had so many visitors in '67 that its incinerator could not contain all of the trash, and managers discarded the excess in a gully behind the facility. Soon, the grizzly bears' nightly foraging there became a tourist attraction. Many park staffers were uncomfortable with this situation. Well, if they were uncomfortable, they would put a stop to it. We're talking about a national park with You're almost this national park is almost setting itself up to be a lawsuit. We know that they cover things up, but they don't want a lawsuit, especially when one can be proven with the way it made it sound. There was 40, 50 people every night down at this garbage pile behind this fancy chalet taking pictures of. That is kind of strange too. So the bear that was at the chalet supposedly dragged the woman that was attacked there. Now, I don't see that happening. Why? No opposable thumb. There was an account in the Smokies last year where a girl was on a hammock, and the claim was that a black bear, had grabbed her off of her hammock and dragged her. We all know that's not true. That there is no way a bear could grab someone's ankle and pull them off. No opposable thumb. So then the second victim was attacked, and the immediate response, however, was to find the bears in the areas of the attacks and kill them. Within 2 days, rangers had fatally shot 3 at the chalet. Shay was moving along and fired at a third, a sow with 2 cubs, and a ripped paw pad that would have been painful, possibly increasing aggression. Investigators concluded that this bear had likely killed Hegelson and seriously injured her boyfriend. Then Gov'T was deployed to the Trout Lake area where the next victim was killed. Now, I really think the next victim was killed by a grizzly. And here's why. He shot 2 days after the attacks. It was an emaciated female that had glass from garbage embedded between its teeth and a mass of human hair in its stomach. Soon after, Gov'T helped collect several giant burlap sacks of trash near the lake. News of the mauling splashed across the newspapers nationwide. Was a public relations crisis for the Interior Department. Now that's what they did not want to deal with. So that's where the lies came in. That's when they started to learn how to lie to us. And that's pretty much the end of the article. They talk about this guy Gov'T and how he worked the rest of his time at the park, 30-something years. But here's where I'm saying there's a cover-up, all right? You've got one person that was attacked at this chalet that was dragged, supposedly, right? And they shot and killed this mother bear with her cubs. And I'm assuming they did a necropsy, but it's not mentioned. Why? Think about that. Why? Well, probably because there was nothing found. But with the second case, they shot the next bear, and there was evidence of human consumption. bear attack, non-bear attack. Same night. Coincidence? A very, very insane coincidence, and probably would never happen in a million years again that way. But so the news ended up making this night the night of the grizzly, is pretty much what it was called. And after that, certain terms were used to cover things up and lie. The couple major ones is not mentioning the necropsy on the first sow and her cubs. Because if there was human consumption, or if there was proof of human consumption, they would have mentioned that in that article. So that, to me, says 2 attacks, yes, one night. One attack we can definitely say was a grizzly. The other attack, I don't buy it, and nor should you. Because the evidence is plain right there for us to see. So I got a couple of other things I want to get into. One is very recent, and it's very heartbreaking. I don't want to spin around and, do a bunch of crazy stuff, so I'm going to pause it really quick so you see my finger come up. I got to find my clicker so I don't have to stop my camera every time. I can just click it quick, but I hope you guys agree with me on this case, because to me that makes sense. Now, this next case I talked about a week ago, about Craig Cloutra, and this is like in that case back in 1967. They hunted those bears down. They still do that to this day. They don't really stop until they bag their bear, so to say. But just listen to the wording of this and how strange this sounds. And I've got another bear attack where you can almost compare the wording, even though I believe both are not bear attacks. One is more realistic than this. The title is just strange anyway. Authorities are not looking for the bear suspected in fatal attack. Billings, Montana. Authorities in Montana have not tried to track down a grizzly bear suspected of the fatal mauling of a hiker last week because it did not appear to be a predatory attack, state and local officials said Monday. The guy was killed, torn up, but it wasn't a predatory attack. Was it just fun and games? Craig Cloutier, 40, was found dead Friday, 2 days after he failed to return from an off-trail hike in densely forested mountains north of Yellowstone National Park. He was from the small city of Livingston, about 30 miles from the mauling site. Tracks left at the scene and the nature of the attack suggests that a grizzly had killed him. Suggests. Park County Sheriff Brad Bicker said there are no indications that the bear sought him out, meaning it could have been simply an unlucky encounter. What? It's unlucky either way, right? Okay. This doesn't appear to be an attack where a bear sought out the person. It wasn't like the bear came down into the campground and nabbed somebody. Fatal grizzly bear attacks on people are rare. Predatory attacks, such as a 2010 attack near Cook County, in which a man was killed inside his tent at the campground, are even less common. Wildlife officials are trying to confirm whether a grizzly was responsible for Cloutier's death through testing of animal hairs found at the site, said Morgan Jacobson with Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks. Jacobson said the attack appeared to have been a chance encounter and agreed with Bickler that it was not a predatory attack. Cloutier, who was married with 4 children and originally from Massachusetts, was experienced in the backcountry, according to friends and family. At the time of his death, he was in a remote area with lots of timber and ravines, searching for antlers shed by elk and other big game animals. It is unknown if Cloutier was carrying bear spray, which are pressurized canisters of pepper-like irritant that can deter charging bears. I'm at a loss. Why wouldn't they be searching for this bear? And why are they're not even making a big deal out of the case, really. I mean, this is a father of 4 beautiful children, young children. And they're just, brushing it off. Why? Because they know what killed him. They really do. And they don't want to admit to the public that they know. So what they're going to do is say, it wasn't a predatory attack, even though a human is dead. Well, when animals attack a human, it's a predatory attack. It's an attack. It's a predator. It's attacking a human. It's a predatory attack. Right? I mean, the words are simple. It's like 6th grade English, right? That's the way I'm looking at it. I don't know. Very strange. Very sad. I feel terrible for that man's family. I mean, if I were his significant other, his wife, I would be irate, asking why. Well, why aren't you going to find this bear that killed my husband? Bag the bear. I don't believe in animals I believe in hunting, but I don't believe in just going out and shooting an animal just for fun. But that animal, if it was a bear and the government knew, and the Parks and Recreation or DNR knew that it was a bear, then they should have euthanized it. They did in Colorado before they even knew that it was the bear that had fed on the woman in Durango. It's freaking baffling, right? Baffling. So this next case that I'm going to share with you is just as strange, and I really think this is a Dogman attack on a human being in Alaska, because to me it sounds more like a Dogman than a bear. I'll share it with you, and you can make your own decision. Now, this next case is very strange. I think it is a Dogman attack. You have to remember that when the Coast Guard people are talking, they did not see any bear. All right, they're going off of what this guy had said. And I think what happened was the government and the media shut this guy up. All right. He was sleep deprived and nearly out of ammunition, alone in the wildernesses of Alaska. Well, not really alone. For several nights in a row, the man had fended off the tenacious advances of a grizzly bear that had attacked him a few days earlier at a mining camp some 40 miles outside of Nome. There was no way to phone for help, but then help found him. En route to a mission on Friday, the crew of a Coast Guard helicopter saw the man waving both hands in the air, a widely recognized distress signal. The helicopter pilot states, "On the tin roof of the shack, SOS and help me had been scrawled. The shack's door had been torn off." The crew took the man to Nome to be treated for bruises and to his torso and leg injuries that were non-life-threatening. According to Coast Guard, so ended a weekend ordeal that could pass as a sequel to The Revenant, in which Leonardo DiCaprio was mauled by a computer-generated grizzly. At some point, a bear had dragged him down to the river, Lieutenant Commander Jared Carbajal, one of the pilots on the Coast Guard helicopter, said in the interview on Wednesday. He had a pistol. He said that the bear kept coming back every night, and he had not slept for a few days. The Coast Guard did not identify the man, who rescuers said was in his late 50s or early 60s, and had been staying in the shack since July 12th of 2021 on the small mining claim. It was not clear how the man had reached the remote camp, which has no cell phone service and is in a river drainage area. Commander Carbajal said that the Coast Guard's MH-60 Jayhawk helicopter had changed its course by about a mile to avoid some clouds when something caught the eye of the co-pilot. He said, "Hey, there's a guy down there and he's waving at us," Commander Carbajal said. I said, "Is he waving with one hand or two?" The answer was two. I said, "Well, that's usually a sign of distress," the pilot recalling telling the helicopter's 3 other crew members. Lieutenant A.J. Hammock, the 35-year-old co-pilot, said in an interview on Wednesday that he saw a man stumble out of the shack. It was a curious sight for him. Lieutenant Hammock is based on Cape Cod in Massachusetts and is spending 2 weeks in Alaska for the Coast Guard. "We don't really come across people in the middle of nowhere," Lieutenant Hammock said. "He was kind of struggling when we came around. He was on his hands and knees waving a white flag." Lieutenant Hammock said one of the man's legs was taped up. He definitely looked like he had been out there for a while. Rick Green, a spokesperson for the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, said in an email on Wednesday that grizzly bears were prevalent in the area that the man had been rescued from, particularly during this time of year. The department did not have any additional information about the attack and did not say whether or not it was investigating the attack. Why wouldn't you? According to a 2019 report by Alaska health officials, 68 people in the state were hospitalized for injuries sustained in 66 bear attacks. From 2000 to 2017, 10 people died as a result of bear attacks during that period. Petty Officer First Class Allie Blackburn, a spokesperson for the Coast Guard in Alaska, said in an interview on Wednesday that it was unusual for a person to have several encounters with the same bear. She said the man's situation had become increasingly dire. He only had 2 rounds left, she said, of his ammunition. "I'd imagine you'd be a little bit loopy after not sleeping for so long." The encounter served as a reminder of the importance to carry an emergency beacon or satellite phone or texting device, according to the Coast Guard. Commander Carbajal, 37, a U.S. Coast Guard pilot since 2009, said he had never been flagged down before by someone who needed to be rescued. It took about 15 minutes for rescuers to fly the man to Nome, where he was said The man insisted on walking himself to the waiting ambulance. You could tell he was starting to come off the adrenaline, I think, and started to realize what had happened, he said. He did not want to get on a gurney. The Coast Guard helicopter had been flying from Kotzebue to Nome, where the crew had been assigned the next day to fly a team of scientists to search the coastline for dead whales, walruses, and seals. Now, this is another case where I believe it was a bear and a dogman not working together, but coincidentally working or living amongst each other. And, well, I covered this back when it happened, actually. The town of Ovando was kind of on edge. There was actually a photograph, and I looked for it on Google, but I couldn't find it, and I remember it quite vividly, actually, of this person's house after the bear had been shot. Once again, bear attack, bear shot. They hunted it down. After the suspected bear had been shot, a resident of the town's home was clawed, and this thing tried to get into their door. The claw marks were about 7 feet high and straight down. Ovando. After 2 days of searching by helicopter and on ground, the grizzly bear that killed a woman Tuesday morning has not been found. Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks bear specialists and wardens are continuing to monitor covert traps set in the area. The search even included the use of infrared technology from Two Bear Air Rescue, but efforts to find the bear are now focusing on traps near Ovando. Details surrounding the circumstances of the attack indicate the bear entered the town Tuesday morning and came to the area near the post office at 3 a.m., where the victim was sleeping in a tent. Another couple in her party were sleeping in a tent nearby. The bear initially woke the campers up, but they ran away. 3 campers removed food from their tents, secured it, and went back to bed. The bear was captured by video camera at a business less than a block away at 3:15 a.m. At about 3:30 in the morning, the 2 people in the tent adjacent to the victim were awoken by sounds of the attack. They exited the tent and sprayed the bear with bear spray. It has not been seen since. The bear pulled the victim from the tent during the fatal attack. At some point during the night, the bear also got into the chicken coop in town, killing and eating several chicken. While the initial search for the bear was unsuccessful, FWP wardens and bear specialists will continue to monitor the area closely. At this point, our best chance for catching the bear will be covert traps set in the area near the chicken coop where the bear had killed and eaten several chickens, said Randy Arnold, FWP Regional Supervisor. FWP bear experts believe the bear was approximately 400-pound male, judging by the behavior of the footprints. DNA from the bear was collected at the scene of the attack and will be analyzed. Should a bear be caught in a trap, DNA can be quickly compared to the DNA already collected to determine if it was the same animal. Anyone who spots a grizzly near Ovando should call FWP at 542-5500. Well, why do I think there was a dogman involved? Simple. And why do I think there was lies involved? Well, I covered this last year. So they've got a photo or a video of this bear by the post office going to this chicken coop, right? And it then gets to the chicken coop, destroys the chicken coop, and eats whatever it wants and leaves. So it at this point is not really hungry. It's not looking for any kind of food. And it's seen walking into the woods away from where the tent was that these campers were camping in. Once again, they had secured their food and stuff and went back to sleep, zipping up their tents. This bear came and grabbed the lady out of the tent and mauled her. The friends of the victim came out and sprayed bear spray onto this creature. Yet nobody can find the bear the first few days. They did end up finding it and euthanizing it. And then shortly after, I don't believe there was any human evidence in this bear's body. Then, like I said, a week later, there's a local who is in their home, hears commotion in their back. There's something trying to get in their house, and it claws up their outside wall. To me, that just says two creatures working in the same area to survive. I might be wrong. I might be right. I don't know. But I feel that these are cases of Dogman and cases of bear. And like I said, I look at the facts and I read and I kind of... Well, I just shared with you the same information that led me to the conclusion of the theories that I have. So we all are entitled to our own theory and opinion. And I'd like to hear your guys's on this one. So with that, may the Great Spirit watch over us all, and may He guide us down that path that we call life. Until tomorrow, my friends.